What is going on, guys? Samuel World from Samuel One World Productions here. Wait, I plugged in. Back with another ranking video for you all today. As for today's ranking video, with the recent release of Transformers Rise of the Beast, I'm just feeling Angie today, so don't mind me. I'm going to be ranking all 8 of the Transformers movies from the worst to the best. I've never actually ranked all the Transformers before, but there'll be enough movies, honestly, as of course I'm ranking all the Michael Bay movies, which I don't think I've actually talked about on the channel before, if I remember correct, if I think so. Have I? I mean, I might do Michael Bay ranking, but I don't think I've actually talked about how I actually feel about the actual movies. And I'm also going to rank Bumblebee, I'm going to add the animated movie that was released in the 80s, and of course, the most recently released Rise of the Beast. So, that's the only information I need. I'm going to rank all these movies. The first time I'm ranking these movies, I would hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I would definitely love to know how your ranking would be down below in the comments. So, not behind the bush, let's get to the ranking, shall we? Now, coming in at number 8, my opinion, the worst Transformers movie that we have done. Again, clarify, I have rewatched all of these movies. I have watched all these movies for this ranking. Which is, I do a lot of these ranking videos, which I'm pretty sure is pretty much to watch all the movies. No matter how many there are, I always like to rewatch all of them before one comes out, because it's always a lot of fun, and maybe I might have a different perspective on on a different movie, and yeah, this one's still the worst. This was actually my second time rewatching this movie, and I'm gonna say this, not only is this my worst Transformers movie, this is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. And that's Transformers The Last Night. Which may be a huge deal to say this is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. Which is a phrase I don't really say often because of these rankings or certain movies. Because I know some people may think this might be just dumb fun, or they might have like in a guilty pleasure sense, and I really can't, honestly. Like, this one movie was just too dumb and too stupid to why I can't even enjoy it, and I savor some dumb, and I forgive some dumb stuff and some movies how I think enjoyed a lot of recent Fast and Furious movies, well, minus Fast 9. But yeah, and I'll say this when I first watched Transformers last night in 2017, and I will still say it. It's I felt like Michael Bay was trying his best to make the worst movie possible. It really felt like that, because holy shit, like the aspect ratio also changes so much, it's insane. That kind of gave me a headache when I first watched it. Like, this one was I just felt exhausted after watching. I don't feel that way with movies often. I really don't. Like, I'm something that doesn't try to trash a lot of movies, but, or at least nowadays at least, but yeah, this movie deserves, honestly deserves, because I feel like Bay was trying to make it better so he can finally get out these freaking franchise, and well, the film is at least with the franchise, so it worked at least, but damn, this makes me exhausted to watch with the aspect ratio, with the incredible back and forth, with the outstanding back and forth between like so many storylines. It's freaking insane. Some even more retcons with the franchise, and I mean, it does have some interesting ideas. I will say that, like with Optimus Prime being evil, and want to do certain and with certain characters and everything, but they just don't really do anything interesting with it, and just get the usual Michael Bay-isms, which it can't be a good thing in some movies, but sometimes it can be a bad thing in some movies, and this is a prime example of that. It's well, not even the action, the effects really save it. I mean, of course, the effects are still great. They're great in all these movies, but sometimes great effects can go too. Sometimes great effects can go too far, or at least don't have so much great effects to where everything you see is just too distracting. You can't even focus on the great effects, and this is an example of that. Even the characters aren't interesting, the characters are annoying, aren't interesting, and they'll do really interesting with them. Some even just disappear for like a second half moves, like this little girl played by Isabella Moner, who I remember knowing from an actual Nickelodeon show, but wanted to also sexualize for a young girl. Had a pretty story about wanting to like fight Transformers, but then she like disappears, and that's why it never gets resolved. And they have these like weird things they also do in this movie that just don't make much sense. That just like, why was that there? It's just a compilation of so many stuff, like stuff like they had great ideas, but they got coupled together and just they decided to do it. And it makes for an exhausting experience that I did not enjoy whatsoever. And this is my second time watching this movie since it came out. I remember being exhausted while watching, like I mentioned earlier, and I still feel the same way. So I think the reason why is my all times because again, it felt like the Michael Bay was trying to make this movie as terrible as possible. And he succeeded, because obviously this film ended up not doing well at the box office, and thankfully he's not going to do any more movies, which bang on that, but it makes for an experience that I never want to revisit. So yeah, last night, easy last place. Now coming in at number 7, we have Transformers: Age of Extinction. Now I can definitely see some debate on them think this is the worst film in the franchise, because yeah, I got this movie's terrible. But I would say it's one of the worst movies I've seen, honestly. Like, I feel this movie is terrible. It has all the issues I mentioned, honestly, with the last movie, honestly, where again, also the movie's like freaking way too long, like it shouldn't be as long as it was at all. Despite having problems like Dinobots, you don't really do any issue with them. Bumblebee is fine here, but they don't really do any issue with him. In fact, the only interesting thing to do was trying to justify his teenage daughter having sex with an older guy, which, okay, why would you have that Transformers movie? Again, the effects are great, but can't really say how just boring this movie is, how juvenile it can be at times, how questionable and off-putting it can be at times. Because yeah, they had some promising stuff to it. Like I would say, especially Bombs and Holidays, they do have some promising stuff and some interesting ideas. They just weren't executed properly, and this is a prime example. Yeah, I can't really say that was one of the worst movies I've seen, though, because it's one of the things was like, maybe it's terrible, but I've seen worse. Honestly, it's not like I hated myself watching it. It's not like I felt exhausted watching it like last night, honestly. It's just like, why are they still making these movies? Again, Mark Wahlberg, it can be charming at times. Again, he's always been a good actor, and he does get a fine performance. Like, it's not one of his best, but he's fine. Honestly, again, the effects are still great, honestly, and I can see some people having made fun with some of the action here, but again, like last night, this is a movie I never want to revisit, but even then, I can't really hate it too little bit I hated last night. Now we get towards the downfall in this franchise at number 6, and that is The Revenge of the Fallen. But I think a lot of the reasons why this movie wasn't as ended up being as terrible was because this movie wasn't even written, because this cat came out was in production during the big writer's strike that happened during this time, so the movie wasn't even have like an actual written script, so that probably would explain a lot of the nonsense of this movie, honestly. So maybe I can kind of forgive that a little bit for me, but again, this movie's still terrible. But the reason I have a other spot is because I can have some guilty pleasure fun with Revenge of the Fallen. I mean, again, it is terrible. There are some questionable moments here. I mean, you got some of the worst juvenile racist humor that Michael Bay has ever done in any of these movies. Like, I mean, one where Transform like hums a leg, which, why? And two robots that are just racist. Like, okay, and the story is just what you took from Transformers movie, and it's just like nothing but explosions, like crazy. There's more action for like the last like hour of the movie. That's like the bit. I mean, just explosions. And there can be some fun with that, I want to say. There are some aspects where there can be some fun with this, which is why I probably don't hate this movie. In fact, I'm not sure if I even totally hate it, honestly. Because there can be some bunch of fun with some of his ridiculous aspects to it, and some of the action here. But the story is terrible, the characters are still lacking and uninteresting, and it's just... Transformers are not even a major part of their own movies, which has always been a problem with these big movies, that, especially when we call Transformers, they're not really a huge focus. So... Again, I don't even hate this movie, honestly. It is a bad movie. I'm always going to say it's terrible, but I can have some guilty pleasure fun with it, which is why it's below it, though. Again, if some people say it's also the worst, I wouldn't blame them. Now we get to probably what is the, well, still a good movie. It's probably the most horrible Transformers sequel. Again, this is probably my second time watching all of these movies, honestly, if I'm real think about it, actually. Not just last night. This is my second time watching all the Michael Bay Transformers movies. And maybe also, when we get into, but coming in at 5, we have Transformers Dark of the Moon, which I think is the most horrible of the sequels, though I will say not good, but I had to have a little more drama. I think, honestly, most so in the second half of the movie, where I think the action, and you get some great character moments, some great action, some bombastic, crazy moments. The first half of it, honestly, really sucks, though. like the whole love triangle thing with Sam and the girl, and well, like, why are we having some of these human stuff in Transformers? Me, like, you can't focus on human stuff, just maybe focus on humans and some aspects you actually care about, honestly, and just drags. But when the action really kicks in, and when the craze really kicks on in the second half, that's where the film really picks up. That's when the film really becomes actually fun and engaging and really entertaining, despite some nonsensical moments, but it's at least actually has more decency to it, honestly. So, After Dark Moon is probably a more tolerable sequel, though. Even though I wouldn't say it's like good, honestly, but it's at least tolerable. Not good, but tolerable. And now we get to the Transformers movies that I actually enjoy. And coming number 4, we have the Transformers the movie, the anime when it came out years ago. This was my first time watching it. Because I'll mention, I also one of the people that also grew up with the Transformers, like the animated show, and also playing some of the toys, and watching the other animated shows, and all the other stuff on this show. Like, I don't call myself like a gigantic Transformers fan, but at least I was aware of them from during my life. It's just kind of a weird movie because it kind of basically is like a kind of stretched out episode of the animated show, so where you don't really know anything involved with the actual show, you might not get much enjoyment out of it, if I'm being honest, if you really think about it, because they don't really explain much of that, but there's someone that has that nostalgia and everything, and while I wouldn't say every aspect of me holds up, it's still a really fun time. To be honest, that's really all I can really say about it, honestly, because it's not really the most memorable thing in the world, but it's at least fun. Now we get to my number 3, which is the original Michael Bay Transformers, which, now this was my second time rewatching it since I think it came out, actually, because, and people always said this probably is the best of the Michael Bay Transformers movies, and, well, they're not wrong, and, because it obviously is high on this list, so, yeah, I still think the first Michael Bay film is the best. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a perfect movie, because it still has some of that questionable Michael Bayisms, and the whole has the weird political aspect to it I never liked in these movies, and some also weird questionable stuff, and again, Transformers aren't really like a huge focus in their own movie, but at least it's a lot more tolerable and a lot more fun, at least, like the other movies, at least it knew what it wanted to be, at least it knew what it tried, what people wanted to go into a Transformers for. I mean, at least Shia LaBeouf made thoughts at least a lot more tolerable in this movie, at least are actual interesting characters. I mean, the parents still suck, but at least Sam and at least two main characters are actual interesting characters. Transformers will still have some kick-ass, amazing, and bombastic action that it's pretty much where you go to Transformers 4. It's just kick-ass robot action, and you pretty much get that here. You basically get a lot of great action here. You get a lot of great back and forth between all the characters. Again, human characters don't really actually suck for the most part. And while it does have some moments where it does drag here and there, if you're just looking for some kick-ass action, you'll definitely get that. Again, I don't know if it's one I'll come back to rewatch often, but at least we got at least one good Michael Bay Transformers movie out the bunch. Now, for the runner-up position, the silver medal at number 2 is actually the most recent entry on this list. Transformers: Rise of the Beast. What can I just say? Feels good to actually have a fun Transformers movie. Like, that's it. Like, at the beginning with all that Michael Bay stuff, it feels good that people actually know what we want and go a Transformers for. Again, kick-ass robot action, and it delivers. While building actually solid human characters that have actual arcs, that have actual character development. And while they're not the most, honestly, if you go into this movie expect looking at the best characters, the best story in the world, you're probably not gonna get that here. Like, they're not bad on it, so they're like grown or everything, but they're not like, it's like been there done now, like we've seen this before, honestly, but again, Transformers here are great, but of course Mirage probably being the standard here, honestly, having some fantastic moments, and you get some incredible kick-ass action sequences that are definitely memorable and fun and entertaining from beginning to end. I mean, it does kind of drag in a few portions, especially in the middle portion, but even then, I was never bored throughout the movie. I'm not sure how memorable this film actually would be in the long run, unfortunately, but I think the director Stephen Cable Jr., who did Creed 2, did a really good job with the directing, and my notes like, hey, this is what we come to Transformers movie for, and they delivered. Not much, the effects are fantastic and incredible. The music's that's also pretty well implemented as well. It's just so much fun. Great. I mean, I still don't know why I still don't know why they're trying to, well, still connected to the Michael Bay universe, which I still don't understand why they're still doing that. Because I mean, it's pretty from they're trying to contradict those movies recently, despite those movies always contradicting themselves. But this was still a fun movie because again, they knew what we wanted to go to movies for, and it delivered. But without goddamn question, my favorite of the Transformers movies is Bumblebee, which I'm pretty sure will be number 1 for a lot of people's rankings, and I knew going into it was going to be number 1 without question. I myself was shocked when I first saw this movie. I actually saw this at an early screening when it came, like 2 weeks before it came out, actually, which was pretty exciting, by the way. I mean, this had a lot of stuff going for it. Like, again, got a good cast behind it. Again, you have Michael Bay directing. You got a great director in Travis Knight who did Kubo and Two Strings, which, by the way, check that movie out if you haven't already. It's a fantastic animated movie. Probably my favorite movie that came out in 2016, but probably my favorite animated movie that came out in 2016, by the way. And for the first 10 minutes alone, it's already like miles better than anything Michael Bay has done with the Transformers franchise. From the visuals and the action to even the writing and actual human characters, like knowing like, hey, maybe sure give the characters actual depth and not do things that we wouldn't not want in a Transformers movie, and actually get an actual depth and actual story and make them actually feel well connected. And it works. Hannah Cypher does a great job as this character. Well, we've seen her character out there before. They do have a nice spin on it, and her action shots at some points are fantastic. Even the family aspect I thought was great. On like the annoying family stuff that you would expect for these movies or these type of movies in general. And that makes sense. A lot of the characters do be who they are. They actually do have their good moments. William John Cena, I thought, was also pretty great in the movie as well. I thought he had great moments as well. Again, the action's fantastic and awesome. The effects are great. The set pieces are great. Again, the storytelling is well, this definitely isn't like the most like mind-blowing song in the world. It's also still a very sweet and solid story. And basically this is the way I was read is basically kind of like a live-action adaptation of the I Am Giant. That's basically what this movie has been described as since it came out, and honestly, even I felt that comparison when I first saw that. It pretty much kind of feels like the Iron Giant, but in a live action form, and that's a good comparison actually, because it's also a fantastic movie, and even that doesn't feel like it's not like a copy of it, it's just comparing it to that movie with the heart and the same emotion and the nice camaraderie between Harry Seinfeld's character and Bumblebee as well, who has some hilarious moments as well, especially with how we trying to get him to talk actually through music. Like that is always hilarious moments, but again, it's a Transformer movie that actually has heart, has energy, has kindness, and has just fun to it. I watched it for this video, and I forgot how incredible the movie is, actually. So I actually appreciate it so much more in this rewatch. And I've already loved it as it is. So, without a question, Bumblebee is number one. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed me discussing all the Transformers movies, again, like all 8 of these movies, which I've never done before on this channel. I would definitely love to know your thoughts down below. What are your thoughts on these movies? How would you rank all 8 of these movies? I would definitely love to know down below in the comment section. Let me know what rankings or videos we do. I do have a kind of a custom playlist if you guys want to see me what videos you want to see me do. I do have a lot of them. I do have a lot of ideas I do plan on doing, but because I am more like if the any movies or show the games you want me to review, or design certain ranking or top 10, 10, 15, 20, 50 you want me to do. Customs will link down below in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you all for all the love and support recently. I am 71 Wolf from 71 Productions. I will see you next time, and as always, stay cooler. Everybody, peace.